Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and another episode of Dump and Chase here in an NHL season where things are really starting to get concrete for the playoffs. We have some teams missing, some teams still fighting, and some teams that have already clinched. We're going to be talking about all of that. One possible matchup of the Minnesota Wild Dallas Stars, Cole Caufield, and the Montreal Canadiens, as well as Nick Suzuki. They're having great seasons. Alexander Ovechkin, and if this is his last season, and much more. But before we get into that, make sure you go like, subscribe, ring that bell, and comment. I want to hear what all of you have to say because I really do care. I read them and I really try to make things better with my analysis, with what I talk about, or maybe something that I missed. So, of course, make sure you do all that good stuff. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the video. And as I said, we would be starting off with the playoffs, how things are looking in each side from the West to where the Anaheim Ducks, who lose yesterday to the Vancouver Canucks, are still not clinched yet. That's how close things are right now in the West wildcard and even some of the divisions. And of course, the East, where some teams are still fighting for first in their division in Buffalo Sabres, the Montreal Canadiens, and, well, Tampa can still get there too, depending on what happens as well. And of course, the wild card, which has been so crazy. Teams are starting to trickle through, but of course, Philadelphia still has not clinched yet, meaning Washington and Columbus can still make their way in between. And then, of course, Ottawa and Boston could swap places for who wants to be in the first wild card versus the second. Again, we're going to get into all of this, but we're going to start with an Eastern Conference team in the Detroit Red Wings who, yeah, they have been eliminated. 91 points. They still have two more games left, but 41, 30, and 9 right now with those two left. One of the worst records since March 1st, 7-10 and 3 during that time. Now, this is really tough for the Detroit Red Wings, considering where they were at and everything else. You know, we talked about it last week and just how insane it is that they blew this, if you want to say it was a lead, a gap, whatever. Not exactly great for Detroit. And I talked about this a little bit, and I think this will be one of my thoughts for one of my up-and-coming ZS Hockey Thought lines. But yeah, with Steve Yzerman and company, the depth was always a problem, right? Your winger depth was never going to be a problem. I feel like that was always pretty solid for them. But the center depth, you know, Marco Kasper definitely hasn't turned into the guy that you thought he was going to be this year. It's been a learning season big time. It started off pretty bad for him. Leveled out a little bit, but again, nothing really crazy. Andrew Kopp and JT Compher are just not going to be your 2C guys. And you might be getting that with a couple of your futures, like Nate Danielson. Maybe he is going to be that next guy. Marco Kasper very well could be. Like, he is good enough to be doing that and has the talent to do so. But this is exactly where you probably look at like that and say, well, yes, some things didn't go right, but you also had a lead, right? Like, you were also being led by a very good Lucas Raymond, Dylan Larkin, DeBrincat Kane. Like, a lot of these guys were having career seasons, good seasons, solid seasons, however you want to say it. Detroit just could not get it done. Now, you know, we'll go down the line here into the defense core where they missed Simon Edmondson for a while here. Moritz Seider really had to carry. The Justin Falk trade is going to be very tough, especially considering that they traded their first to the St. Louis Blues, and it's now going to be a possible lottery pick. Again, chances very slim, but it could fall anywhere between 16 to 10. Right, so or something along the lines of that. Depth has been very critical. Quality depth for the Detroit Red Wings has been very critical, and you're just not seeing that. Like, I do like JBD on that bottom pair, but you know, like Ben Sherratt, Albert Johansson, like there has to be better options, and there is, and it's not always easy to get those options. Now, Ben Sherratt was a little bit better this year. I'll give him that, but it's just the idea that it can't always be your big guys, right? Like, no matter how much of a step Simon Edmondson has taken and how honestly good he's been, or how solid Moritz Seider has always been, or how much Dylan Larkin shows up, or Lucas Raymond, or a lot of these other guys, right? Like, you can't just have, you know, Carter Moser or Dominic Shine or a very old James Van Riemsdyk. No matter how decent they've been at times this year or how much better they have been compared to what we were expecting, right? You have to have guys who are going to be able to show up, right? Like Andrew Kopp or JT Compher ideally are like your third line center, but they're playing sometimes, interchangeably because of a guy like Marco Kasper not being up there top line minutes, right? And this goes into a big factor with Steve Yzerman and company about these contracts that you're giving out. Like JT Compher is still making $5.1 million until 27-28. The cap's going to go up, so it's not going to be as terrible when you look at it, but that's still a lot of money on your books. After this year, you still have Andrew Kopp at $5.625 million. I even mentioned that both of these guys have modified no trade clauses. Still trade them, just still makes it harder, especially with that contract, right? Like, where's Patrick Kane going to be this upcoming season? Should he be with Detroit? Does he call it a season? I don't think he calls it, but maybe you switch it up from that. Like $3 million is very, very quality for what he's been giving you. So if he comes back and wants that same amount of money, you say, yep, great. But that might be one of the guys who's really only producing offensively. Maybe you need someone who's going to be at both ends. Again, I've seen that talk about it. I'm not saying that should be the be-all, end-all for a conversation like this. But people say it, right? Like, it's fair. But again, like, who is going to show up for Detroit? What is this team going to look like next year? Again, I'm not going to rip on the guys like Emmett Finney and Dominic Shine too much. But again, you do need some better quality depth for the Detroit Red Wings, especially with the cap that they have. We're going to be projected to have $11.133 million. You got to spend. There's got to be something here. I think that Axel Sandin-Pellikka, he's going to be with Detroit full time next year. I think that he actually at points looked really good. I don't mind him. I didn't mind the idea of him, being sent down to the AHL for a decent quality of time, playing like big line minutes, especially when he was not really being used a lot. The John Gibson and Cam Talbot thing, like John Gibson really did start off really bad for Detroit, found his game again, and essentially carried the Red Wings for 2 months. And then, in the last couple of weeks, it's just been pretty tough. Like a 14.55 goals saved above expected is nuts. And I think you do have to really respect that. 903 in the season. It feels like the 890 is the new 900 on league average. So, I mean, considering everything, John Gibson hasn't been that terrible. But, yeah, like, how are these Red Wings, like, how are they going to look? Right, like what is this going to look like for Detroit next year? Right, like you have Trey Augustine jumping into Grand Rapids next season after his good time in the NCAA. Sebastian Cossa, is he going to be with Detroit? Right, like I would assume so. I think in a perfect world, he backs up a guy like John Gibson and gets some games, and they let Cam Talbot go. That's not to say that Cam Talbot won't get a contract anywhere else, but let's look at his numbers right now. It's not like you have to keep him around. He hasn't been that great. So he's also 38 years old. So for a guy like Sebastian Cossa, who's been very good on a good Grand Rapids team that could genuinely win the Calder Cup, he's at 9-17 in 38 games. But yeah, like what kind of depth are you going to get? Is it really going to be that youth movement? Right, of all these guys, of all these big names that you have in your system? Or is there going to be a change, or Steve Yzerman stays, and they really spend big time on, maybe they overpay a little bit for a guy who's going to be making a difference in that bottom six? I don't know. But I think that's where you have to look, everything considered, right? Like, go and find another solid defenseman, right? You still have Justin Falk for a little longer. Maybe he's going to have a better season next year. He hasn't really played to his full potential, I don't think. He's been fine, in my opinion. But again, like that, losing that first is tough when not making the playoffs. But again, really tough, everything considered. But yeah, I want to start off with Detroit. I would have loved to see them make playoffs, to be honest. They didn't get it done. They were there, and they lost their position. They were in the driver's seat. So we'll see how this one goes through the offseason for Detroit, right? There's going to be a lot of decisions that are going to have to be made. So for the Red Wings, again, another year of disappointment, 10 years, something like that for them. Not ideal. Moving on to Alexander Ovechkin, who has now raised some suspicion if you want to say it like that, for his NHL future. I think we were all kind of a little bit suspicious. At 40 years old, Alexander Ovechkin, was this going to be his last season? There was some talk about it possibly being his last season, but no one was really sure. There was no confirmation. This season, towards the end, in the last couple of games from what we've saw, he's been very wishy-washy. Like, it's looked like he's going to stop, but then he'll say like, I'm thinking about it, maybe not. But he's like pushed off also all of these handshakes and these ceremonies. Like Pittsburgh tried to do it when they when Crosby and him had their possibly final showdown, and he was just like, no, which may indicate that he's going to be playing another year. I don't know, but. For Alexander Ovechkin, if this is it, what a career it has been. Over 1,500 games, almost 1,600, almost what could, maybe if he plays next year, I'd love to see if he could get to 1,000, but I don't think he's going to score 70-ish, 60-ish goals next year. So, but I still love to see it, but almost 1,700 points this year, 63 points, 32 goals in 81 games. He's been very solid for them at his age. I mean, the guy doesn't skate much on the ice, but he has a wicked shot, and he still knows how to be pretty physical, which is so crazy for a guy in Alexander Ovechkin, his age. If this is it, again, what a career. I would love to see him try to push that 1,000-goal mark. He'd probably have to play 2 more seasons, to be honest, just to give himself some time if he continues on this pace, right? Because, again, like the pace may not get there, may get there, may not. But yeah, Ovechkin, we don't know what it's going to look like. And I'll show the video right here of him waving off the Pittsburgh team. He's like saying like, no. And if this is him saying, okay, no, this is not my last season, or he just doesn't want all the attention, that very well could be an Alexander Ovechkin type move. Like, I don't want this attention. Please stop. No, I want to go out on my own terms. Does it there again? But then again, he's such a competitor, right? Like, maybe he wants to go another season. They didn't make the playoffs this year. They're not going to make it. Well, they might not make it. They still have a chance. We'll talk about them. But it's going to be hard to see. I think that's going to be playing a big factor for them if Washington is going to make it, and we'll go to them right here. So they have 2 games left in this season. We'll go back to the standings for the Eastern Conference, and they could make it. They're 93 points. Philadelphia's at 94. Philly has 2 games left, whereas the Washington Capitals have 1. That last one coming against the Columbus Blue Jackets, which is a massive game. Columbus, they have their last one against Washington. They dropped a pretty critical one against the Boston Bruins, 3-2. That would have put them in a very, very good position. They're at 92 points, so a little bit more tough for them. But again, you could still do it. But you'd have to see Philly lose out in 2 games. So going to Philly, they have a back-to-back tonight and also tomorrow. So against Carolina and Montreal. Not easy matchups, but also 2 teams that have already clinched. So maybe you see some guys being rested. We will see. But this is going to be very interesting. Like this is literally it for these playoff spots. Ottawa and Boston are locked in. Ottawa did that couple days ago. Boston, they've been locked in for, actually I think they may have just clinched not too long ago as well, or maybe it was actually yesterday. It's been a sec. I haven't looked at these standings and haven't been following Boston in particular, but they're already clinched, so it's really it's Philly left, right? If they can win 1 game here, they put both of them out of reach. And for the Flyers, it is doable considering how they've played. But again, it's 2 good teams, 2 teams that are looking to make a mark. For Carolina, I mean, I think that's going to be more of an easier one. They're probably going to rest some guys. For Montreal, they could win the Atlantic and get a different matchup. I'm sure they're going to want to do that. Buffalo still has 2 games in hand. Tampa Bay also has 2 games. I think the tiebreaker would be regulation wins. I'm not exactly sure if it is that. I believe it is. So if that's the case, they're at 40. Buffalo's at 41. Buffalo's at 41. That's actually crazy. The Habs are at 34. So if it is going to be something like this, like they could play their guys, but if not, I'm sure they are pretty content with a team like Tampa. That was also a close game that they both played against each other. That was a pretty good one. So we'll see how that one goes. But yes, this is going to be one to the finish, right? Like that's a massive game on Tuesday against Columbus and Washington. but it's only if the Flyers lose against Carolina on Monday. That's the only way that game is interesting, to be honest. So we'll see how this one goes. But yeah, very, very close here in the Eastern Conference. Wild card on that last spot. And now let's go to the West. So we see the Los Angeles Kings and the Nashville Predators are the two teams I'm going to focus on. It is a big-time long shot from Winnipeg and San Jose. And again, they have the games in hand to be able to make something happen, right? Like 3 games each year. They're both at 79 points. So you're looking at a maximum of 88 points, which puts you in a playoff spot. But the way that the Kings are playing, also with them having 3 games left, they're at 87 points. You literally need 1 win to eliminate those 2. And for the Nashville Predators, they have 2 games left. So let's look at all these teams. So the LA Kings, they have a back-to-back tonight and tomorrow. So Seattle, Vancouver. 2 teams that are both eliminated, 2 teams that have not been good. This schedule heavily favors the LA Kings, big time. They have 3 teams that are not good, Seattle being the best one out of the 3. Nashville, they have San Jose, who is still battling, as we said, again, long shot, but that would be a big win for them if they can make it work. That's also barring the Kings fall off in this case. And then the Anaheim Ducks. The Ducks are going to make it. I don't think that's a crazy thought. They haven't technically clinched yet, but that could be another big game depending on how things shake out again. Like, how is LA looking, right? These 2 last games are big for the Nashville Predators. They're at 86 points, maximum of 90 points. So we'll see how this one goes again. If we're going off regulation wins, the Kings are obviously not going to win that one. Yeah, the Predators do have them edged in that category, but the Kings are in the driver's seat right now in the West. How guys have been playing last season at Kopitar would be really nice for him to be in the playoffs, even if it means this could happen actually, because how Anaheim's been looking. But if the Kings are in the driver's seat, they get into that 3rd spot. We have another Oilers-Kings first round. So I'm sure Kopitar would love that instead of seeing a different team. But then again, that also means you get away from the Colorado Avalanche, who have been really good this year. They have the President's Trophy, possibly a curse going on. We'll see. But there's a lot of ways that this could go in round 1. The wild card, who makes it, who doesn't. A couple of stipulations, actually. I don't know about Nashville, but I know for the LA Kings, if they make playoffs, the 3rd that they sent in exchange for Scott Lawton gets turned into a 2nd for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So other teams also have some skin in these playoff races as well, even though that they may not be in a playoff race or already eliminated. So we'll see how this all this works. But yeah, a couple of wild card matchups going on in both sides. It'll be very interesting. Again, tonight is very big for the Flyers. If they win, they clinch. If they don't, that opens up a possibility for a very, very entertaining game for the Capitals and the Jackets, and then also scoreboard watching for the 2nd game for the Flyers on Tuesday. And then, of course, the LA Kings very much in the driver's seat. They literally just need to win 1 game to eliminate 2 other teams and win another with a point up for them to clinch their playoff hopes for 2026. So, yeah, this is going to be very, very fun. But, of course, 2 teams that have already clinched, and we'll see it right here, the Dallas Stars and the Winnipeg Jets. Yes, these 2 are juggernauts in terms of what we are going to be seeing and what we could see for the season. The Minnesota Wild, 45-23 and 12, 102 points versus the Stars, 48-20 and 12, both at 80 games on the season. Yeah, these 2, this is kind of where you get into the playoff format needs to change, and these 2 teams should not be getting rewarded with something like this. Like, if we were going to go back to 1-8, and we'll do it quickly here, would it make much of a difference? Yeah, it would. The Minnesota Wild would be getting the Edmonton Oilers. The Stars would be getting the Ducks. It looked a lot different. Vegas versus Utah would actually be very fun. Now, I think the biggest point of is for Gary Bettman is it not entertaining? We need to see something different. Yes, this is entertaining, but this is not very fun for those teams, considering that the top 3 teams are in the Central that are in the West, and the pretty much, as we go down the list here, Utah, who's also in the Central, is ahead of some of the division leaders in Edmonton and Anaheim. So it's funny to see that there. But yeah, this is going to be a very fun matchup on the regular season. Both pretty solid considering everything. But the Stars obviously do have the edge, I would think, in this game, in this side, in this series. Everything considered, it's going to be very interesting. And for me, when I look at the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild, it really will be coming down to whose Stars are going to show up, right? Mikko Rantanen, the Stars are going to be out without a guy like Tyler Seguin, who's very much a factor. The Minnesota Wild, they pick up a guy in Quinn Hughes this year that changes their back end massively. Kirill Kaprizov, Joel Eriksson-Ek, Matt Boldy. Like these are the players that you need to show up. And now, I do lean Minnesota here, and I think that they could win. I really do like what they did to their bottom six. I think that they added a lot of size, a lot of grit, some scoring. Guys like Michael McCarron, Bobby Brink, Nick Foligno. The Dallas Stars, it's really hard to bet against them, everything considered. It's a deep team. It's one with a lot of scoring. Now, we'll go and look at it here quickly for the Dallas Stars. Now, they have had a lot of injuries this season, and it's not like they're not dealing with them right now. And now, granted, some of these guys are just being sat out, but a lot of them, like Miro Heiskanen, Michael Bunting, he's been day-to-day, Rupe Hintz, Nathan Bastian, Sam Steele. You go down the list, like this team's hurt. And when we look at their depth right now, still not bad, but it's not what you're hoping for, right? Like you're hoping to have a guy like Maverick Bourque maybe on that third line. Jamie Benn, he's down there for most of the season, but now he doesn't really have a lot of his solid guys. Like Adam Murray is not a third line guy. So, again, still good, still a team that can win, and well coached under the right kind of spots can maybe just ragdoll Minnesota. But the Wild are not, like, they're no Shiv, right? Like this is a good team. Ideally you want to have this is not exactly how it looks, right? Like there's still guys who are being sat, but with Matt Zuccarello, Joel Eriksson-Ek, and Jared Spurgeon in this lineup, like this is a good team, and one that I would be afraid to face. Like, look at that bottom six: Yakov Trenin, Michael McCarron, Bobby Brink, Nick Foligno, Marcus Foligno, Nick Sturm. Like, that's a scary, that's a big and scary bottom six that's going to play you hard in the playoffs. So I would lean Minnesota. My only question is about the goaltending. Like, can Philip Gustafsson be that guy versus Jake Ottinger? I think this series goes to 7, like 6 or 7, but I think 7 in this case. I lean Minnesota a bit, but I'm still undecided. Like, I think Dallas very much could win this series. This is probably going to be one of the closer ones in the bracket, depending on how things shake out for each side. Again, we don't know everything. But yeah, like, this is going to be a fun one to watch. And I can't wait. But yeah, the goaltending is going to be the biggest one for me. The last thing I want to get into here, the Montreal Canadiens. We talked about them a bit how they're going to possibly win this series. Who are they going to, or the division, excuse me, and who are they going to play in the first round? Two guys who are going to be massive factors in this: Nick Suzuki, who yesterday hits the 100-point mark, gets the 101 points, 29 goals, 72 assists in 81 games. I think there was a point in time here in this season where people were telling me that he shouldn't have made Team Canada, and I actually scoffed at that idea. I said, like, this guy is having a career season offensively. He's still very good defensively, is probably up there in the Selke talk. Like, this was a genuine question of whether he would make it or not, and I was so confused by that. He ends up scoring a big goal, gets a couple of big points, is a factor for Team Canada, and now he's having a season like this to where the Montreal Canadiens have been a force to be reckoned with. And of course, a lot of this doesn't happen with a guy who we would be talking about in a second, but I was in Laval for a game for the Belleville Senators, as you know, working the AHL, and we went downtown, tried to go watch the Habs game, no dice, but we went into this went into this bar, and I'll tell you, it's right outside of Bell Center. I'm blanking on the name, but just quality stuff. And the fans in there, when Cole Caufield scored his 50th goal, it was insanely loud. It felt like you were in the arena. And 51 goals, 37 apples for 88 points. in 80 games. Yeah, he's had a very, very good season. The Wisconsin, USA native. It's just insane. There was a point in time where he got into the 40s and we were talking about, is he going to hit 50, right? Like, my guess was he just misses it. And if he does, he gets like 50, like right on the last couple of days. Pretty close, considering that he's had 80 games. But yeah, he's been so good. Potentially could get to like 53, maybe, depending on how these last two goes, if he sits, if he doesn't. But 51, what a time for him. Like, there was a point where we were talking about Cole Caufield. That's the greatest 40 goal scorer to never score 40 goals. Like, that was always the joke for Habs fans, because he just couldn't get there, right? Like 23, 26, 28, always had that scoring touch. 37 last year, almost got to 40, and now 51. It's been so good for Cole Caufield. He's 25 years old, and he hasn't even hit his prime yet. So it is crazy what we're seeing in Montreal. Again, them possibly clinching first in the Atlantic is still one to be seen. That's depends on really how Buffalo does. They're tied for 106 right now. The Sabres have a game in hand. And then, of course, depending on how things go, the Tampa Bay Lightning could also clinch first. If I'm correct, it's a regulation win. So, that's all I want to talk about for this podcast. If you have not already, make sure you go like, subscribe, ring that bell, and comment. I want to hear what all of you have to say about this video, what I'm talking about, your predictions for the Stanley Cup playoffs and everything in between, because truly we are blessed with what we've seen in this NHL season, and it's only going to get better. So I'm excited for what we could be seeing in Saturday. I think it's Saturday, right? Yeah. Wow. We're so close. But until next time, my name is Zach Staden, and we'll be talking soon.